Hi, greetings. I am Radha Krishna Prasad, the facilitator for this performance testing HP Loadrunner training program. Uh, a little bit introduction about myself. Uh, I have done my Bachelor of Engineering from Anna University, Chennai, and I am currently working as a performance testing consultant and also a performance testing trainer, conducting various training sessions from learning and development from many organizations. And I'm into consulting, and uh, I conduct corporate training programs in both manual and performance automation testing. And I have a total of 8 plus years of experience in software testing, uh, 7.5 years of relevant experience in core performance testing area using HP Loadrunner with different versions of HP, and managed several performance automation and manual testing projects, worked on various domains like banking, insurance, healthcare, uh, manufacturing, and e-commerce accounts, e-commerce domains. And coming to my skill set, I initially started my career with manual testing for a couple of months, and then switched into performance testing area. Worked with different versions of HP Loadrunner. Uh, Same with HP ALM Performance Center. Prior to that, HP ALM, I was working with controller, which is a major component of HP Loadrunner. Currently, I'm working with HP Loadrunner 12.02. As part of manual testing and performance testing, I'm also working with SOAP UI, working with other open source tools like open source, freeware, and commercial tools like IBM Rational Performance Tester, WebLoad, Nearload, and implementing Sovasta, which is a cloud performance testing tool in one of the projects. And also worked with Core Java for a couple of projects, C and SQL. Also, as part of performance testing, I have been working with different web servers, Apache Tomcat, JBoss, and different app servers like WebSphere, WebLogic, and also with different database servers like MySQL, DBMongo, and Oracle. Uh, in performance testing using HP Loadrunner tool, I started my career using with Web HTTP HTML protocol, as it is one of the mostly used protocols, as 85 to 90% of the applications are web-based applications. Also, apart from that, worked with click and script protocols, Citrix, Web Services Protocol, and RT protocols. Uh, as part of performance testing, we also work with Windows, Linux, and Unix load generators, and worked with different defect tracking tools like Bugzilla, HP Quality Center, other monitoring tools like HP Sidescope, which is one of the most important monitoring tool, uh, Hyperic, Dynatrace, and Wiley Interest Group. Okay, today I'm here to explain about to take a session on performance testing. So as this is a very first session, we can start with, like, we can talk much about why we have to do load testing, what is performance testing, why we have to do it, and when you do it, objectives of performance testing. Okay, why can't we do performance testing manually? The different types of tools that we have in performance testing, and what is the reason behind for using only HP Loadrunner? I mean, to 85% of the market, what are the main factors for using only HP Loadrunner tool as a load testing tool across the market or across different companies? Okay. Before talking about performance testing, a little history of testing. For any project that has to be developed or that has to be tested, you have a vendor who is called a customer, where we get a requirement. From that requirement, you get some specifications in the form of documents, you have a feasibility study on that. I mean, all the teams sitting across the projects will have a feasibility study on the project. They bring all the possible do's and don'ts. They bring some time frames. They do some designing. They do some planning, test development, execution, analysis, then results phase. So finally, the final object is to meet the customer requirement or the business demand as per who is defining it. Okay. Okay. When initially you get something called requirement, the first team that would involve in any project is a development team who do some coding, who brings some shape to an application, and they give in the form of build to testing team to test it. Okay. Once you get a build in the form of a URL, you start testing it. You do something called functional testing, where you check the functionality of the application, which is also called manual testing. Again, coming to the definition, it is the process of identifying defects, flaws, errors, bugs, whatever you call it in the name of terminology, to ensure the quality of the product is meeting the requirement. I mean, to ensure it is with zero errors, to ensure the quality of the product or an application or software. That is functional testing. That is where you do everything manually by checking the functionality. I mean, you give some input and you check for the output. I mean, you give everything manually for every user journey, for every use case, or for every user role. For different use cases, we have to do everything manually. That is why it is called manual testing. Uh, Also called functional testing. And apart from this functional testing, you have something called automation testing. In automation, you have two types of automation. One is functional automation and one is performance automation. I mean, again, functional testing and non-functional testing. In functional testing, with the help of tool like QTP, which is now HP UFT Unified Functional Testing, with the help of the tool, you test the same scenario uh, with n number of different sets of data. With the help of the tool, you do some scripting, you iterate it with multiple iterations, you check the same iteration with n number of different sets of data to reduce manpower, to save budget, to save time, and to bring a result which is more efficient with the help of the tool. That is an automation part. There is a different area. When you come to this non-functional testing, we have different testings in it. The first type of testing in non-functional testing that we have is performance testing, which is a very niche skill, which is more demanding, nowadays it is very much in demand to I mean, every vendor wants their application to be performance tested. I mean, every client or every company, every organization, they want their application to be perform much better. They want their application to be quick in responding when their application is accessed by n number of different users globally. In non-functional testing, we have different types of testing. One is performance testing. One is uh, security testing and accessibility testing. Uh, okay, let's go into performance testing. When talking about performance testing, the first question for anyone would arise is, what is performance testing? The word performance itself is something called speed. Okay, as per the definition, um, calculating the speed and efficiency of an application is called performance testing, and something like calculating and measuring. Performance testing, we do performance testing to identify something called bottlenecks. Likewise, we identify defects in manual testing. In performance testing, we identify something called bottlenecks. We do performance testing to identify bottlenecks. Bottlenecks is not a stopping point. Bottlenecks is something like it is a point where the performance of application starts degrading. I mean, it can be from any place of the architecture. I mean, if you take an application, or if you take some application or a project that is there in the entire architecture, where you have some n number of web servers, app servers, and database servers. You have different servers placed at different locations. Okay, with n number of users doing different activities on the application from different places. Uh, this is performance testing. Performance testing is the process of identifying bottlenecks. Is a process of validating some application under a set of controlled conditions. You check the application behavior when it is under load. Load is nothing but users. How many users the application can handle? How many applications? What would be the response time of your application that is there in production when some group of people accessing it in normal hours and peak hours? Why that is we that is about performance testing. Why we are doing performance testing? We are doing performance testing because of poor response times. Before talking about poor response time, I'll tell you what is response time. Response time is nothing but the time taken to send a request to the server and the time taken to get the response back is called response time. I mean, the total time taken for sending a request and getting a response back is called response time. For a given request, how quickly the application is responding. You are measuring the response times of the users on the application. You are not measuring or calculating the speed of only one single user. You are calculating the speed of n number of users accessing the application from n number of different locations. I mean, for example, let's take this way. We have an application. The maximum handling capacity of an application would be 4,000. It doesn't mean that all the 4,000 users on the application are doing the same activity at the same point of time. Out of 4,000 users, all the users are not hitting the login button at the same point of time. I mean, are not logging in simultaneously or concurrently. Out of all these 4,000 users that we have, some 200 users are logging into the application, some 300 users are composing an email, another 250 users are sending an email with an attachment, another 300 users are doing hangouts, and another 150 users are creating the folders. From another 50 users are clicking on can't access my account, some 300 users are clicking on forget password, some 50 users are creating account. This is how they do it. Performance actually varies from different parameters. I mean, for all the 4,000 users, the performance will not be the same, because the 4,000 users on the application access the application from different places with different bandwidth speed, with a different operating system, with a different machine configuration, with a different processor, with a different memory, or with a different RAM. And you have lot many parameters like this with different browser that they are using. It doesn't mean that all the 4,000 users are doing the same thing or the same activity at the same point of time. For all the 4,000 users, we are calculating the response time. We do performance testing to gather. I mean, to see how much time each and every transaction is taking for all 4,000 users. Uh, we'll talk this in detail in the next sessions. Okay. The reason why we are doing load testing is, does the application is responding quickly for a given request? How quickly the application is responding, and to see the maximum handling capacity of the application. At what point the application is crashing, or at which to what number of users the application is sustaining, or to see how many number of transactions are handling by the application or will be handled by the application. And also you see the stability of your application under unexpected and expected load conditions. That is why the reason we do uh, performance testing. And also We have another parameter why we do load testing uh, for something called scalability. Scalability is nothing but scaling the number. I mean, if your application handling capacity is 4,000 users in the year 2017 or 18, your application, the number of users on your application may grow, and you need to see the performance of the application. Will that handle 8,000 users in the year 2016? For that, you have to do performance testing to see the behavior of the application. Is it stable, or will that handle the number of transactions required by the business? You see both the expected and unexpected conditions. Okay. When do we do performance testing? We do performance testing to any application prior going to live, okay, or soon after completion of your functional testing. It is not mandatory that you have to do performance testing only after completion of your functional testing. Uh, Few of the vendors or clients, they do performance testing in parallel to the development, where we call it as early performance testing. I mean, you calculate your service or a piece of code that is developed in the form of page, or it is in the form of uh, two integration parts. You check that particular activity at the very early stage by running a load test with very minimal number, like one user, 5 users, and 10 users max. Okay, this is what is performance testing, why we do it, and when we have to do this performance testing. And talking about another thing, I just want to tell you. Uh, Something not, you need not thoroughly follow the PPT, because there are n number of things written across n number of blogs. You need not be specific to any of the definition or any of the PPT. Our agenda is to make you to our agenda is to make everyone to understand like what exactly will happen in the real-time project. You people being a beginner in performance tester or intermediate level or expertise level, it is a performance tester job to identify the requirement. It is not something like a functional tester role. When we talk much about performance testing engineer role, what will happen is most of the cases a one associate has to run the entire show. So he will be involved in each and every phase of performance testing life cycle, right from the non-functional requirement gathering till the sign-off. I mean, you have a client questionnaire, non-functional requirement gathering, test development, test scripting, test execution, text analysis part, bottlenecks identification, and again sending all these things to the tuning team, diagnostics team, getting that fixed, running the same load test again and again until you meet the SLAs. Okay, so our main agenda is to make everyone to understand like what exactly will happen in a real-time project. When you would request you to please understand the concepts behind performance testing, why we have to do it, what is the reason for doing it, what is the importance and significance of performance testing. Okay, we'll talk much about performance testing in detail going forward. When we talk about functional testing versus load web testing, in functional testing, as I said, uh, you check the functionality of the application in functional testing. You do some business functionality, you do some business activity to check the functionality of the application. I mean, you give some input, you do some activity right from invoking the home page till the sign off. You give lots of input data and you check for the output. That is what you do in functional testing. Whereas in the load testing, you have lot many objectives. You have to check the stability. You have to check your performance of your application. Also, you have to check the functionality of the application under load. Load can vary from different numbers. It can be very minimal. It can be very huge. It can be very drastic. I mean, it can be vary from very minimal to maximum number. As we discussed when we are talking much about stability, stability is something like you are checking the stability of your application. Will 2,000 users or 4,000 users or 6,000 users concurrently hitting the server, I mean, will the server sustain or will the server crash? Okay, when we talk about performance, you check the response time is acceptable, or you also check the throughput. Okay, I'll tell you what is throughput. Throughput, the amount of work done per unit time is called throughput. That is as per the definition. Throughput is nothing but the amount of data that is transferred. I mean, the amount of data that we retrieve or that we submit is called throughput. Okay, we'll talk much about throughput in later sessions. Uh, Going to next slide, we have different types of performance testing, also called as flavors of performance testing. Uh, the first default term is called load testing. Load testing, as per the definition, we have a lot of things written across the blogs, as I said. Okay, load testing is nothing but the maximum number of users the application can support. For example, you have an application where it will support only 100 users. You run a load test with 100 users and see the application behavior, and you publish the result. Okay, but when you get a requirement to run a load test with 100 users, but as per the industry standard, you add 5% to the existing number and you run a load test. I mean, instead of 100, you run with 105 users and then see the application behavior. Okay, this is the reason for adding 5% as an industry standard to the existing number given by the client. Uh, it, when the application is with 105 users on the system, in the worst case it can work fine with 100 users. That is why the reason you always add 5% to the existing number. But this is not a real-time practice, and this is not a thing you should not where we don't uh, I mean, we don't tell it to the client actually. This is what load testing is. Load testing is something like the maximum number of users the application can support. Coming to the stress testing is something validating in unexpected situation is called stress testing. I mean, more than the maximum number of users it can support. Stress testing, you wantedly stress your application. You know that your application will support only 100 users, but still you will run a load test with 105 users. It is working fine. Then you keep gradually increasing the number and you keep on running few load tests. I mean, for example, you know, as I said, you know that the application will work fine only with 100 users. You run it with 105 users. I mean, you wantedly stressing the application. It is still working fine. Then you run it with 110 users. It is working fine. And when you run it with 115 users, it is failing. Then you come back with 3 users again. Um, when you run it with 112 users, it is passing. So it means that somewhere in between 112th user and 113th user it is failing. It means that the maximum handling capacity, it is the failure point, it is the saturation point. We do stress testing to know where the system is crashing, where the server is crashing. Okay, stress testing, we have many ways of doing stress, many ways of stress types. One way of doing stress is, you know that your application is working fine with 100 users with 2 Mbps of bandwidth speed. You wantedly reduce your bandwidth speed to 1 Mbps and then test with 100 users. That is one way of stressing. I mean, reducing the size of reducing the speed of the bandwidth. Other way of stressing is you downsize the configuration of the systems. I mean, uh, your application is working fine with 100 users with i7 processors for all the machines. What you do is, for 25 users you go with i5, you downsize the processor size, and for the rest of the 75 users you go with i7 processor. That is one way of stressing the application. Okay, you have different ways of stressing the application, and this stress testing is done to see the crashing point. I mean, to what point the application is sustaining. Okay, component testing, when we talk about component testing, this is something like finding the behavior and performance of each type. As I said, you might have heard about three-tier architecture, right? Three-tier architecture is nothing but which is having one presentation layer, one business layer, and one uh, DB layer or something. Yeah, something like one web tier, one app tier, and one database tier. Most of the times we work with entire architectures in performance testing, where we have some multiple web servers, app servers, and database servers. This component testing is done like to see the behavior and performance of each and every individual tier. It can be one web server, it can be one individual app server, or it can be one individual database server. Okay. Uh, when we talk about volume testing is something. It is also checking the stability of the system with large amounts of data. Large amounts of data is nothing but uh, you have 100 users in IRCTC where they are trying to book a ticket at 10 o'clock in the morning in Tatkal Kota at the same point of time. I mean, they submit lot of input data to the server and they get output acknowledgement in the form of ticket, right? Uh, when you try opening your IRCTC and for booking a ticket, you need to definitely fill in the input data from the user level, right? From the user end. I mean, first name, last name, gender, age, source, destination, date of journey, your credit card details, CVV, name on card. This is the information. It is nothing but data. Data is submitted to the server, and you're submitting something to the server, and you're getting something from the server. Okay, whatever the data that you submit to the server, again, that comes in the form of acknowledgement in the name of ticket. Uh, Apart from this component testing, load testing, stress testing, volume testing, we have few types of testing, which is called spike testing. Spike testing is nothing but increasing the load all of a sudden. Spike is nothing but uh, increasing something all of a sudden. You know that your application is working fine with 100 users, but you all of a sudden you add another 100 users to the existing number. That means your application is running with 200 users. That is nothing but spike testing. Spike testing is increasing the load all of a sudden. It is not a minimal number. It is more than some 50 or 60 users to see the application behavior, how it is responding. Spike testing, uh, and also we have endurance testing. Endurance testing is nothing but we do this endurance testing to identify to identify memory leaks in the application. And in endurance testing, generally endurance testing duration will be a minimum of 8 hours, which is a very long time runs. Endurance testings are called long time runs, where it is minimum of 4 hours, 8 hours, 16 hours. If it is required, we do it for 2 days. Okay, and we'll talk about memory leaks later. We do endurance testing to identify the memory leaks of the application. That is also one type of bottleneck. Uh, okay, and as I said, the objectives of performance testing are to have the main objective of performance testing is every application has to be quick. I mean, as I said, every whatever the application that we have, when it is accessed by some 10,000 users or 2 lakh users, the application response time should be a good number. For example, if you take a site, all the 365 days it will be all the 363 days it will be idle, but only 2 days lot of users will be there on the site, because most of the students from plus 2 or who has written MSET or different exams, they'll be checking the results. Okay, in that 1 hour of time or 3 hours of time, uh, the load on the application will be very huge, and the application will stop responding. You will get different errors like HTTP 404, page not found, server not found. You will have a lot of errors. So the objective, when we're talking about objectives, uh, we the first objective is we check the response time. How long does it take to complete the task for all the users accessing the application? Reliability, which is which is trustable. I mean, how stable the system is under expected and unexpected load, under heavy load. Configuration sizing. Configuration sizing is nothing but capacity subset of capacity planning. Configuration sizing is something like what configuration will provide the best performance level. I mean, what systems you need to use, what hardware and software configurations you have to use for a better response time. Okay, for a better response numbers. And capacity planning is something like you plan a better infrastructure, better environment to meet the non-functional requirement given by the customer. I mean, to see at what point the performance degradation is happening. Okay, acceptance, as you know, I mean, how these systems stable. I mean, before prior going to live, any of the application you have something called UAT. You have acceptance testing, and the one of the main objective of doing performance testing is to identify, as I said, to identify something called bottlenecks, to see where the performance is degrading, at what point. Is that from app tier, is that from the web tier, is that from the database tier, or is that from the network latency, is that from the application, is that from the environment, is that because of the data that is not properly updated by the VBA into the respective table where our application is sitting, or it can be from many places. Bottleneck can be from any place of the architecture. It can be the code that is written badly in the application. Okay, and you have these are all the objectives that we have in performance testing. And also we have product evaluation, regression. As you know, any newer version, any upgradation, will that affect the response times of the application? That is what we call it as regression in manual testing as well. I mean, to see whether that particular hotfix is showing any bad impact on the other existing functionalities which are already working fine. Same as here in performance testing, we just see the sorry, we just see the newer version. Any newer version has showing some bad effect on the response times, or is it causing any delay? And in product evaluations, we see like which server, what would be the best server for 100 users, what would be the best configuration, what would be the best infrastructure, as I said. Okay, these are all the objectives of performance testing. And most of you can have a question. You might get a question, why we can't do a manual test, performance testing manually, right? For doing this performance testing manually, we have if I want to do a performance testing manually with 100 users, I want 100 users, I want 100 computers, I want 100 internet connections. I want again a coordinator who instructs all these users to do some activity, and I should have some analysis which has to be calculated manually using some calcs or some different formulas, right? What I mean to say is, if I want to do this performance testing manually, I need all the resources to be physically seated in front of these machines, in front of the computers or laptops. If I am the coordinator, when I say ready 1 2 3 go, all the users, all the 100 users has to click on login button at the same point of time. Even then, when you do when you do this type of activity manually, you will get a lot of time gaps. I mean, all the users will not be clicking on login button at the same point of time. Even there will be a time gap of milliseconds. 20 users will be clicking prior, another 20 users will be clicking late, some 80 users will be clicking, some 60 users will be clicking all of it, on the same time maybe. That is one thing. So when you can also, the main reason why we can't do this manually is because we cannot synchronize users, we cannot collect the results and we cannot achieve the test repeatability. In To achieve some results in performance testing, when we are very much worried about response time or throughput, uh, you have to run multiple tests actually. I mean, you have should keep doing some multiple rounds of testing and then comparing the results and then compare conclusion where you have got the best performance numbers. So this is that is why the reason we are going with the automation tool, which is a performance automation tool, uh, where it replaces all these human users with a name called virtual user. Virtual user is also called as dummy user. The word virtual itself, it is which is not the word virtual means which is not really existing. By using this load runner, what will happen is it replaces all the testers with virtual users, and we need not use much machines for doing this load testing. We have something called load generators where we can run so many users from a single machine, and you have one controller that is also one component of load runner where it will instruct all the users about the activities. Okay, and you have a very as you are doing everything in a virtual environment which is not really existing, the I mean replacing the virtual users with the human users, doing all this simulation part, by using this load runner it gives a very accurate results which are close to the realistic result. That is why the reason we are choosing I mean HP Loadrunner tool. Okay, and also the main advantage of this load runner tool is uh, we have a test repeatability. We can have plenty of rounds of testing. We can compare. We have a lot of additional features to identify the bottlenecks very easily. We have a lot of features to compare different metrics from operational level or from user level or from system level. Okay, coming to the load testing tools that are available in the market, we have a lot of non-functional performance testing tools available in the market. One of the main tool is Loadrunner. 85% of the market is occupied by HP Loadrunner. Prior to HP, it was formerly with Mercury Interactive, and we have another tool from IBM which is Rational Performance Tester. We have the same IBM in functional testing. We have RFT, Silk Performer from from Borland, which is a non-functional tool again. In functional testing, we have Silk Test. Uh, we have different tools like eLoad from Emprix. We have WebLoad, NeoLoad, OpenSTA, and also we have Soasta, which is a cloud performance testing tool, and also we have JMeter. Uh, the only disadvantage of load runner tool is the cost associated with the tool, but in the long run, we can get the better return of investment when you do projects with HP load runner. Okay, and introduction to load runner. Load runner is, as I said, is one of the main important, the major leading tool in the market. It creates lots of load. It has a lot of additional components to it, and you can have some n number of different. You can do n number of different combinations of load tests using HP Loadrunner tool, and also you have so many advanced features in it. I mean, to do some multiple activities concurrently, simultaneously, and also this, as I said, the main thing that we have from HP Loadrunner is HP Analyzer, which is a very good component of Loadrunner, where it gives a very good results. We can have lots of metrics. I mean, where we can compare to each and every uh, with each and every tier, web tier, app tier, database tier, to see the client side metrics, server side metrics. This particular component will help to identify the bottlenecks or the performance degradation. I mean, to trace them very easily. Okay, and we have a lot of supporting environments in performance testing. Uh, as I said, we have 160 plus protocols. I mean, depending upon the technologies the application is built on, we can use the protocols respectively. We have a lot of protocols, client server protocols. We have custom distributed components. We have ERP CRM protocols, and we have other a lot of supporting environments like legacy, mailing services, streaming, and wireless as well. Okay, and don't I mean just don't get scared, or don't be afraid of seeing this diagrams and all. It is just describing the architecture of load runner components. When we talk about load runner components, we have three main components of load runner. One is virtual user generator, which is used for scripting, and this virtual user generator is called as VUGen in real time. All the scripting part, recording part, debugging part, enhancements, manipulation of scripting, upgrading, writing some code snippets, or incorporating some new code snippets to do some business activity as per the logic, as per the customer requirement. Passing different values into the scripts, something called parameterization, handling dynamic values, which is correlation, recording options, runtime settings, how you want to record, how you want to run your script. This all happens in the first primary component, which is called virtual user generator, also called VUGen. Okay, and the limitation of this virtual user generator is only one user. As I said, it is used for debugging, recording, replay, enhancement, writing some code snippets in C. Okay, correlation and other features. The second component is we have load runner controller, which is I mean, this is the component where you design your test, where you plan your test, where you add all the load generators to this place, and you execute your test. I mean, whatever the script that has been recorded in virtual user generator, that can be debugged, and once it is with zero errors, once it is working fine, then you bring the script, that script from VUGen to controller, to run it with multiple users. That is the place where you design your test, you plan your test. I mean, gradually increasing the number of users. You have to run your test for 2 hours, and you add all the monitors from web server, application server, database server, to see what is happening from each and every tier, and then you run the test. Okay, this is the place where it generates the load, where the execution happens, where the planning and designing of the test happens. Okay, soon after completion of the load test or execution from the controller, uh, you what it will collect all the, I mean, based upon the settings that we do in controller. Once it is finished, once it is done with the execution part, it I'm sorry, soon after completion of the load test, it will bring all the results to a zip folder. Once you extract it, you can open that particular file in load runner analysis file. Then this, by using this analysis component, it actually it takes each and every metric of the load test that has happened from controller. It takes all it, by default it collects all the client side metrics and server side metrics, and it displays the test results with all the graphical representation of data. Okay, so these are all the three main components of load runner, which is virtual user generator, called VUGen in real time, load runner controller, and load runner analysis. Okay, and apart from this, we have LR agent process that is not written here. LR agent process is not the component of HP Loadrunner, but it is LR agent process. That is a process that has to be installed. If a system, if you want to use a system to be used as a load generator, you have to install LR agent process on it. I'll show you. Uh, to know like what to know how to know whether LR agent process is installed on your machine or not, you have to go here and check for this umbrella descending icon. This is, if you see the cursor, I mean tooltip of the cursor, it is showing LR agent process, right? What this LR agent process will do is it collects all the instructions from the controller, and it will, this LR agent process will make sure that all the users are running based upon the instructions. It will check all the users are running based upon the instructions given from the controller. Okay. And another point is, if you want to use any of the machine as load generator, you have to install uh, LR agent process on it. Okay. And uh, this is all the loader terminology. I mean, what is a V user? What is the scenario? What is a V user script? What is a transaction? And what is a render point? We'll talk about it later. Uh, this is the older version. I mean, it is showing us components of Loadrunner 8.0, but the current version that we are using is 12.02. I started with 8.0. We have 8.1, and Loadrunner 9.0. We have 9.5. We have 11.0, 11.5. Now we are currently in 12.02, but most of the companies are still with 11.5. The same version is continuing. Okay, I forgot to tell you one point. Another point is virtual user generator, loader controller, and analysis part. Uh, in place of controller, many of the companies are using performance center. Okay, it is same as controller, but the only difference between controller and HP ALM performance center is controller is a .exe file, and performance center is a web-based application. Controller is a component of Loadrunner where we get with the .exe file. You can install it only on a single machine. I mean, for example, if you have some 10 projects uh, in an account, in some, for example, if you take a HSBC account, or if you take some Ericsson account, we have some 10 projects, 10 applications in performance testing simultaneously. You have 10 teams. If you are using controller, if I am from one team, if I am doing a load test for 2 hours with this controller, the other team has to wait until and unless I complete my load test. Okay, if I'm running a load test from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., the second team has to wait till 8 p.m. and they have to give gap for 15 minutes. Then they have to use the same controller. Okay, again the third team, they have to wait for another 2 hours, and they have to continue after 4 hours. That is, I mean, when you have a single controller for 10 teams, they have a distributed schedule. But whereas in HP ALM Performance Center, it is a web-based, you can run n number of load tests simultaneously and concurrently. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, when you, until and unless you are using the same load generator, you have to wait. But if you are using a different load generators, you can run a load test simultaneously or concurrently. To that saves the time. Okay. Again, in performance testing, sorry, in performance center, you can directly raise a performance test defect, and you can assign to some development team. The same like HP quality center. Okay. And we have these three components. And apart from this, I just want to discuss about the process or the strategy that is being followed in any project from different organizations, or from different companies or different vendors. For example, in a manual testing project, as per my knowledge and experience, the first thing that we get is, I mean, I'm talking about process. Uh, the first thing that we do is, after the manual testing process, we are talking about the big picture, like this is what is the process that we have. Okay, in performance testing, in manual testing, generally, The first thing that we have is we get something called in SDLC we have requirements gathering, designing, coding, testing, and maintenance, uh, uh, analysis and maintenance, right? Something like that. So in the first phase, once we get uh, the requirement in the requirement gathering phase, once we get the requirements, which is called high level design, high level requirements, or BRS business requirement specification or SRS system requirement specification. You get requirements. Um, Different teams across the project, they do have some feasibility study on the requirements. Then they start. Once they are finalized with the requirements, they take sign off from the customer. Um, they go to the designing phase. Then they prepare the functional test plan, the estimation, the functional test plan, again purpose of the document, in scope, out scope, features to be tested, not to be tested, the environment, entry criteria, exit criteria, suspension and resumption criteria. You have a lot of things in it. Mitigation plan, contingency plan, a lot of things. Once your performance testing, functional testing plan is finalized, once the estimation is finalized, you do the first round of functional testing, second round of functional testing, then regression testing, retesting, and the last round of functional testing. You keep doing this until and unless all the test cases are passed, right? In the same way, when we talk about performance testing, we have something called non-functional requirement gathering, where we get a requirement in the form of SLA. Okay, that is called service level agreement, or statement of work, SOW, or BVM, business volume metrics. Each and every, the terminology varies from organization to organization and client to client. You need not worry much about that, but you also need to know about different terms that they use for the same meaning. Test, like test bed is also called test environment, right? Okay. And in the phase one, planning a load test. In the planning a load test, we get non-functional requirement gathering in the form of SLA, service level agreement. If we there are situations like where the customer is not aware of performance testing, or he doesn't know anything about performance testing, and at that point of time, it is the job of a performance testing engineer to gather all the requirement for the from the customer. We have two different documents. One is non-functional requirement gathering, and one is client questionnaire, uh, where we ask all the details from the customer. Uh, Give me a minute. This is the client questionnaire document. This is what you. This is what the questions that you ask to the customer to get all the requirement. Okay. uh, what are the number of users? What is the main purpose of testing the application? Where you want to do this performance testing? In which environment is that, in production or is that in staging? And also you ask the customer, like, what are the types of testings that you do? Is that, as I explained, one is performance testing. We have, by default, we have load testing, stress testing, endurance testing, and if you are doing stress testing, what type of stressing you have to do, what type of sustainability you want to achieve. Okay, and we will ask what are the levels of testing, and also is the application is already there in production. If it is there in production, since when we have. If we don't have anything from the production, we do something called baselining, benchmarking, and you also ask about the timeline for the project, and what are all the failure tests that you have to do, and what is the test duration, what is the URL of the application, and how many scenarios you have, how many number of scripts you might have. You also need to define the complexity of the scripts, easy to medium to intermediate to difficult. Okay, and also you also need, the main important point is you have to take the task distribution diagram, which is called workload distribution. Okay. Um Also, this is the one of the main most important thing. Sorry, most important part. Asking details about the test environment. Okay, you do performance testing in performance testing environment, which is a exact replica of production environment. I mean, the same size of app server or the same size of database server or the same size of application server we will have in performance testing environment to see the results, to see the exact application behavior. Okay, and you also ask the hardware and software details of, as I said, web server, app server, and database server. From each server, you ask the processor and clock speed, the number of processors, memory, number of disks, and load balancer as well. Okay, this is what, when you don't have a requirement from the customer, this is the document which will help you to gather all the requirement, to create some transparency in a project. Okay, I mean, to create some kind of smoothness in a project. Once you get all the requirements from the customer, you take a sign off. Okay, then what you do is you go with test planning. There, that is the place where you do workload modeling, and that is the place where you do workload modeling, and that is the place where you, as per the test plan, different from the client level. From the client level, I'm sorry. You prepare a non-functional test plan. You prepare a test estimation document, and you prepare a test scripting checklist, and also then soon after completion of your non-functional test plan, which is the performance test plan and estimation document, you go with test development. You start scripting from the Vuegen component. Then, I mean, as I said, you do recording, replay, scripting part. You do parameterization, correlation, debugging, and always the limitation of this HP Loadrunner Vuegen is only single user. Okay. Once you prepare all the scripts with zero errors, you bring all the scripts to HP controller part or ALM performance center. That is the place where you record. I mean, where you execute your scripts with multiple users for a specified test duration for 2 hours or 3 hours. It can be any type of performance test. It can be a stress test, load test, or endurance test. It can be anything. After that, you take the results, uh, you monitor accordingly, and you publish the result. This is I mean, the process that we follow in performance testing. Uh, Planning a load test. This is the place in the phase one. We prepare a performance testing plan. We gather all the requirement. We prepare an estimation plan. We identify the complexity of the scripts. In the phase two, in the virtual user generator, we record the scripts. We record all the scripts. We do some enhancements. We do manipulations, updating, incorporating some code snippets as per the customer requirement and business demand. Once the scripts are with zero errors, once they are debugged, parameterized, correlated, what you do is you upload the same script to controller part. That is the place where you, the third phase. Give me a minute. I'm sorry. The third phase, that is the place where you design your test. Soon after preparing your script with zero errors in virtual user generator, you upload the same script into controller or HP ALM performance center. That is the place you design your test, you plan your test. I mean, you create some scenarios with multiple users and you start running it in controller or HP ALM performance center. And after completion of your execution, you go to the analysis part, where you pull the report in analyzer, and you accordingly you customize the report in the HTML format or Word document in the way the customer want it. You write, you see all the graphs, all the graphical representation of data. You check all the metrics from the client side and server side to trace out all the bottlenecks and performance degradations. You see, and you being a performance tester, you write all the recommendations and conclusions from the entire load test that has happened for n number, for example 4 hours or 3 hours. You publish a report to the client, putting everyone in CC, I mean in the email. That is how, I mean, okay. If that report is not meeting the requirement, okay, if you are getting a bad performance number for any of the particular transaction, you raise a performance defect, you publish this report and you assign it to the uh, queuing team or performance engineering team who takes care of fixing this issue. Once they fix this issue, I mean, with respect to the database or web tier or app tier, once they fix it, they again send an email saying that this issue has been resolved. Please reiterate the same load test with same settings to compare the result. In the same way, we do some multiple rounds of load testing for 4 to 5 iterations until and unless we meet the SLA. That is the process of performance testing. We have different process that we follow from different organizations. You need not worry much about the process that you have to follow, because every customer or every client or every organization will have a predefined test plans, predefined strategy, or predefined estimation in driving a project, in driving a performance testing project. But only thing, you being a performance testing engineer, what you have to understand is you are not dedicated to one particular module or one particular individual phase in performance testing life cycle. It is your job, it will be your role where you have to run the entire show. I mean, as I said, you will be part of uh, every phase that we have from performance testing life cycle, right from the non-functional requirement gathering, client questionnaire document, preparing the performance test plan, test designing, test estimation, scripting guidelines, scripting checklist. These are all the output documents of the performance testing process. Again, you get the scripts from Vusion. You create the scenarios in controller or HP ALM performance center. You publish the reports from the analyzer component. Again, by using HP diagnostics, if you are a performance engineering guy, you go into each and every individual tire, or you go into in depth of the code. You act accordingly and you try to sort out the issue. You have profiling tools like JProfiler, JProbe, again to identify bottlenecks, to identify these performance degradations. When the load testing execution is happening, you have a monitoring tool which is integrated to HP Loadrunner, like HP Sitescope. That is the place where you add your, I mean, in the remote servers where you add your web server, app server, and database server, and based upon the metrics that the customer wants us to monitor, we monitor each and every parameter from each and every individual type. Then we do analysis from again user level, system level, and operational level. Okay, this is I mean a big picture of I mean, just we discussed about the process that we have from performance testing. Um, okay, let's go with the small execution part. Okay, so I'll just tell you like how you have to record your script, how you have to use HP Loadrunner tool. Okay, as this is the very basic class. Uh, Again, I'm telling you, this is not specific to one particular PPT. It is not specific to one particular tool. Performance testing is always a challenging technology where you keep on learning something new uh, from app server or web server or database server, or from, you have plenty of different protocols. As I said, 160 plus protocols in World.02. Having some 8 years of experience, I was working with only 5 to 6 protocols for now, but still, again, if you want to, this is a technology where you got a huge scope of learning. You will have a lot of scope to learn new things with new architectures every time. You will get a new challenges every time. Uh, we have plenty of things in it. Okay, so again, from this session, my main agenda is to understand that it is not something like explaining a particular PPT. What you have to do is whatever all the theoretical session that is given by the trainer or a faculty, you just correlate all these things with the real-time happenings and just try to understand it. You need to do a lot of exercising when you work with the tool. You have to explore, you have to touch each and every functionality that is there, each and every option that is available from the Loadrunner tool. Okay. I suggest all of you to download the HP 12.02 or 11.5 version to download from HP official site. Okay, that is a trial version for 14 days, I guess. It is compatible with all the operating systems. Okay, and once you install it, before installing a trial version, please make sure that you are disabling your antivirus. But in the real time, it is not that case. In the real time, you have to, when you're working for some project, uh, when you have some business requirement from the project end, you raise a request from to HP Tools team to give access to HP Loadrunner tool. Once you raise the access, you get all the approvals from different managers from the hierarchy you have. And once all these approvals are done, once the payment is done from the organization for HP Loadrunner tool, they will release this HP Loadrunner installation bundle. I mean, in the control panel. After 2 or 3 days, when you see it, if you go to control panel, you will have an bundle. Once you double click on it, it will install all the components together. Okay. HP Loadrunner virtual user generator and analyzer are free components. The only thing is where you have to buy license is for Loadrunner or HP ALM Performance Center. And you also have different types of licenses. One is permanent license. Uh, Clients like Bank of America or State Farm or HSBC, Morgan and Stanley, expensive clients, they take the unlimited license of a Loadrunner tool. And the second type of license is temporary. I mean, you have got only for 1 year. No matter you use it or not, it will get expired after 1 year. If you take it on August 15, 2015, it is valid till August 15, 2016. And the third type of license is you have a virtual user, time limited, uh, something called uh, again, it is valid only from, it is only valid for 10 days. I mean, all the 24 hours or 10 days will be counted. Okay. The last type of license is virtual user days. I mean, this type of license, most of the CMMI level 3, level 4 companies with less budget, they go with virtual user days license. I mean, if they buy a license for 100 users, sorry, 1000 users, I'm running a load test for 20 users today in the morning, 30 users in the morning, and 50 users in the evening. So the maximum number of users will be detected in a day. So if I'm running a 50 users load test today, out of 1000 users license that I have, these 50 users will get detected. Still, I'll have only 950 users license. If I want to run a load test with 1000 users, I cannot do it. You got my point? The maximum number of users used in a day will be detected from the total number. Okay, if I'm doing load test of 50 users in 1000 users license, I'll still have only 950 users license. I can do a load test only with 950 users. Okay, I'll just show you a small recording. Once you install your HP Loadrunner on your machine, these are all the three components that we have: virtual user generator, analysis, and controller. I created a shortcut, but you have to how you have to open this. uh, you have to click on start, you have to click on all programs. Okay, then you have to go to HP, you have to go to HP, click on HP software, and then you have to click on HP Loadrunner, and then you have to open this virtual user generator, the first primary component of Loadrunner. Okay, um, you have to listen this part very carefully, because one of the you being a beginner in performance testing, for the first 2 years you'll be working on mainly scripting part, recording and replaying part. Okay, this is 12.02 version. uh, I mean, again, one point is like only for installing this trial version you have to disable the antivirus. In real time, that is not required. Okay, that is a licensed version, which comes with all some set of standards, rules, and some agreements with mutually with the vendor and from HP. And in real time, with the licensed tools, what you have to mainly remember is you should not record any of the external sites using HP Loadrunner commercial tool. Okay. See, this is the home page of HP Loadrunner virtual user generator tool. The first thing that you have to do is you have to select a protocol. Okay. What is a protocol? Protocol is I mean many people say it is set of standards or set of rules. In Loadrunner virtual user generator, in protocol means it is the one which will act like a mediator between the client and server, like whatever the communication that is happening between the client and the server, that is happening and that is communicating only because of this protocol. Okay, and the one another important thing, when before you take all the requirement from the customer, you have to ask what protocol that I have to use for recording the application. Okay, if the customer doesn't know what protocol he has to use, we have something called protocol advisor. Okay, uh, if you take the URL of the application that we want to test and put in protocol advisor, it will suggest some list of protocols that we have to use for recording. Okay, and that is not always accurate, but it is 80% it is fine, but still you can talk to the development team to identify which protocol you have to use. Okay, based upon the technology the application has built on, you select the type of protocol. And as I said, you have 160 plus protocols in Loadrunner, and this is the first component. When you open virtual user generator, the first thing that you have to do is you have to select your protocol. Okay, click on new, add new script. When you add new script, this is the place where it will ask you which protocol it has to select. It will open a dialog box asking what protocol you have to select. If your application is, as I said, most of the applications are web HTTP HTML. 80 to 85% of the applications are web based. That is why the reason by default I select web HTTP HTML protocol. Okay. Uh, okay. There are few applications where we have where the application is developed on multiple technologies. Like if I go to multiple protocols and I can select uh, web services protocol or web HTTP protocol. Okay, you can also some multiple. You can also select another protocol. You can also select Citrix. You can also select. I mean, based upon the requirement you have, you can select multiple protocols. On it. You can Flex or Java or HTTP. You can also do some mobile application performance testing. But for now, I have only a single protocol, which is web HTTP HTML. Also, you have some mobile protocols where you can where you can do performance testing on mobile applications with different operating systems like iOS, BlackBerry, Android, Mac. Sorry, not Mac. Okay. And popular is something like these are all the popular protocols that we have: HTTP, HTML, Citrix, Tuxedo, TrueClient. Okay. Flex protocol. Recent is nothing but if I open web HTTP HTML, and for the second time, if I want to record any of the script, I see the previously used protocol in the recent protocols. Okay. For now, as my requirement is only for web HTTP HTML, I'm sorry, only single protocol. I'm selecting web HTTP HTML, and I'm giving a sample script as a script name. Okay, this is the location that where the script gets saved. Okay, solution name can be blank, or you can give anything. Solution target also you can. I mean, uh, it can be blank, or it is not that mandatory. It is always you have to worry about the script name. As I said, if you don't know what protocol you have to use, okay, uh, take the URL of this application. I mean, go to google.com. Okay, uh, this is the URL of my application that I want to test. I'm taking my URL of this application, and I'm just verifying what application I have to use. I click on Protocol Advisor. Okay, this is the program to analyze is the type of browser that you want to use, and I'm just pasting the URL of the application that I want to test, and I'm clicking on Start Analyzing. It analyzes the application, and it will suggest you some protocol on which protocol you have to record your application. Okay, it opens the application. It opens the application. It will analyze all the events in the application, and then it will suggest you what protocol you have to use for recording this application. Okay, this has got some problem. Okay, I'll close this and I'll just click on finish analyzing. It has to give you some result showing some protocol. Okay, go this way. You go here. You don't know. I mean, if you're testing this application, if you want to record any of the activity from software testing help, you don't know which protocol to use. See, it already gave actually. In the protocol advisor, it is giving true client. Okay, let's stop this, and I'll click on new script. I'll click on protocol advisor, and I give this URL software testing help, and I'll ask my protocol advisor to analyze. By default, it opens in Internet Explorer, because in the dialog box which has opened, I just selected Internet Explorer in the program to analyze option. Okay, if you see, this is called the firing of events. Okay, the number which keeps on going is called firing of events. Now I just click on finish analyzing. See, this is not that accurate. Whatever the protocols that are detected, if you try recording with these protocols on a web-based application, it will not capture all the events or all the objects or all the things that we have in a page. Okay, so it is always the best practice is if you did not get any requirement from the customer about the protocol that we have to use, uh, we being a performance testing engineers, we need to have some good relations with all the teams who are working across the project. We need to talk to the development team about the application on which technologies it has built on, and accordingly we have to select the protocol. Okay. Now, as I said, the first thing is you select a protocol. Okay, in the dialog box in the single protocol, and I'm giving a sample script 27. Okay, and when I click on create, okay, it opens another dialog box asking the details of the application which we want to test. Okay, so sorry, this you got this page. Okay, you have selected a protocol and you have come here, and here this when you click, don't worry about like what are all the things that we have, every uh, wherever you place your mouse, it shows you what button it is by tooltip. If you click on record button, it opens a dialog box asking for different fields. I'll tell you record into action. Okay, we have three different actions in Loadrunner. One is vUser init action and vUser init. Uh, as as per the definitions or as per the theory that is written in the textbooks, vUser init is an action used for initialization part. vUser end is for logout part. That means you have to record the login activity in the init part, logout activity in the end part, and the rest of the activity in the action part. But it is not mandatory that you have to record only login in init, logout in end, and the rest of the activity in action. Always the best practice is to record the entire activity in action part. Okay. Again, that depends upon the requirement. I'm selecting action. Okay, I'm recording this into web browser. Okay, it is not a Windows application or a remote application via Loadrunner proxy. This is a web browser, and the application is Microsoft Internet Explorer. Okay, I'm not recording that on Mozilla Firefox. If you want to record that on Google Chrome or Opera, you have to click on this and you have to bring the .exe here. Okay, I'm starting my recording immediately, and this is the working directory. If you want to change the working directory, you can again select on this button and you can select the path. We have two different types of recording modes. One is HTML mode and one is URL mode. We'll talk about that later. But for now, if you want to record in HTML or URL, I'm going to recording options directly here. I go to recording. I'm selecting HTML. I'm selecting the second option, explicit URLs. Okay. Then I'm clicking OK, and I'm clicking on start recording. Okay. When I click on start recording, do you know why this has come up? Why you got this page? I have a sample web application that came up with the HP Loadrunner trial version. When I have given all the details of the application, it did not open the home page of the application. You know why? The reason is it did not. The server is not up. Whatever the trial version that we have here in Loadrunner that got installed on my machine, in every trial version of Loadrunner, we get uh, a sample web application from the Loadrunner trial version, and also a sample web server with it. Sample web server. Okay. So I'm cancelling my recording for now. Okay, my recording cancelled. So to record any of the application, to record the web application that we have from the application, what you have to do is before recording, you have to go to HP software, You have to go to HP software. You have to go to HP Loadrunner. Then you have to go to samples. Under samples, you need to click on start HP Tools web server. Okay, this is a sample built-in Zitami web server. Okay, I'm clicking on Apache server. This is an Apache server. I'm clicking on allow access. I mean, you can record any of the application, but for your understanding, I'm just recording after selecting the protocol. I am just the user init is for recording the login activity, action for the rest of the activity, and end logout activity. But for a better practice, always the best practice is recording every complete user journey in action part. I'm selecting web browser in record, and application is always by default it is IE Internet Explorer, and this is the URL of my application, and I'm starting recording immediately. Okay, before recording, you are selecting the type of recording mode that you want. I mean, in what way you want to record your script, either in HTML mode or URL mode. We have two modes of recording, and again in HTML and URL, we have HTML advanced and HTML advanced and URL advanced. We'll talk about that later. I have given all the necessary information here in the dialog box, and after clicking on start record, I have filled up all the data. Now I'm clicking on start recording. If you see here, the firing of events in the recording toolbar, the number keeps on increasing, right? This is called firing of events. Firing of events. How do you know that you have selected a wrong protocol? How do you know that it is not connecting or it is not communicating to the server? If the events on the recording toolbar are 0, it means that you have selected a wrong protocol. Okay. If the events keeps on increasing, it means that it is established, the connection is established, and it is communicating with the server. Okay. The first thing that I do is I click on, I'm inserting a transaction. I'll tell you why I'm inserting a transaction, and in the real time you always have to follow the naming convention standard. Application name is web tools, right? Uh, web tools. And the transaction name is login, and as it is the first transaction 01 I have done. I clicked on OK. The default username and password of this application is Jojo, and the password is uh, password is BEAN. Okay, Bean. I'm clicking on login. See, if you see if the events are firing, I mean if the number keeps on increasing. Okay, now I'm stopping my transaction, and what you have to make sure is the start name and end name of a transaction should be same. Okay, once you give the name in the start transaction, it will automatically take the same name in the end transaction. So I ended my transaction. Again, I'm clicking on another transaction. Okay, again that is WT Web Tools application name underscore transaction name. You just try click uh, flights. Okay, this is transaction number 2. I click flight, and I try to book a ticket London to Denver. This is what I'm doing. I have selected this one, departure date, everything. I clicked on continue, and I selected the type of flight, and then again I clicked on continue. I clicked on my street address as uh, Saint Teresa Street, and the state is Maryland. Okay, my credit card is something like this. The expiry date is 12/16. Okay, I clicked on continue. Now my ticket is booked and I'm stopping my transaction, ending my transaction here. And again, I am starting a transaction, WT underscore, click, itinerary underscore 03, as it is the third transaction, right? Uh, we go to itinerary to cancel the ticket. I selected this one and I cancelled one ticket. I'm stopping my recording. Okay, again I'm inserting another transaction, web tools, application name underscore transaction name, sign off underscore 04, the transaction number. Now you sign off and you end your transaction, and now you stop your recording. Okay, when you immediately click on stop recording, it generates the script. Okay, these are all the dynamic values that has to be correlated. I'll tell you later on. We'll talk about correlation later, and also about the dynamic values that are randomly generated uniquely from the server. If you see here, uh, this is I mean, again, don't really worry about the script that is generated from the tool. It's a tool generated script. What you have to understand is, like, what are all the statements it generated from the tool. Okay. This is every URL you hit, you click. Okay, it records a statement as web URL. Okay, and every function in Loadrunner starts with LR underscore. LR underscore think underscore time is nothing but the delay between two consecutive actions. Okay, after clicking on login, after invoking my home page, to click on login button, I waited 104 seconds here. You got my point? Something like, once I click on login button, and the time I wait to click on the next activity, I mean to click on compose mail or to click on send mail, the time taken between these two actions will be recorded as, the delay will be recorded as LR underscore think underscore time. This is called wait time in functional automation in QTP. UFT, this is called wait time. Okay. Uh, Again, to insert a start transaction, we are directly clicking on the toolbar, but also you can manually write here something like LR underscore start underscore transaction. You can also manually write this one. Okay, this is the start transaction function is LR underscore start underscore transaction and the transaction name. Uh, And talking about web submit data, this is a function where you are submitting some data to the server. If you take the username, the value as Jojo, and the password as Bean, you are submitting these two values to the server, right? Once this is getting authorized and once it is getting verified from the server, and you get a response, you go to the respective user homepage by after logging in. Okay, you ended login transaction. After logging in, again I waited for 46 seconds. I means here user is waiting for 46 seconds, and again I started my transaction here. This is, I clicked on some URL. I waited for think time for 8 seconds here. I waited for 8 seconds, and again this is web submit data. Web submit data function is nothing but you are submitting some data to the server in a form that is displayed in an application. You enter some input data like this, uh, where your departure is London and arrival is Denver. This is departure date, this is return date. Okay, this is a number of passengers, this is seat preference as window, This is C type as business, and this is round trip. So you have whatever the data that you are submitting, it takes in the form of web submit data. Okay. Again, I waited for 4 seconds. This is one web submit data. In the same way, whatever the data that I'm submitting here, I have submitted my credit card information, my street, my address, everything, right? Again, I ended my transaction. I waited 36 seconds. I have gone to itinerary. This is a URL where I clicked. Again, I submitted my data where I have for the cancel ticket. Okay. At last, you logged out from the application. This is a simple script of some application that we have from the tile version. Once this is recorded, what you have to do is every time you run your script, before running a script, you have to compile it to see it is with zero errors, right? That happens everywhere in any of the compilers. It's always a practice. Okay. You have to go to view and you have to check for something called lot of things has been changed from versions 11.5 to 12.02, from 9.5 to 11. A lot of things we have. Okay. And we have a output log. I mean, okay. Once you compile it, you have to run it. So this is how you run your script, and the use of transaction, inserting a transaction is to check the response time that has been taken for an individual activity. For a login transaction, the use of inserting start and end transaction for a particular activity is to see the response time of that particular activity. Okay, uh, how much time it has been taken to complete that particular activity in the entire scenario. For any user journey or any user case, we actually insert multiple transactions to see the response time of each and every individual transaction that we have in the entire user journey. Also, based upon the criticality, we prioritize the number of we prioritize the functionalities, uh, and accordingly we distribute the load, and we publish the result. Okay. That is all for now, and thanks for your time. Thanks a lot, and we can meet in the next session. Thank you.